All right, so let's talk about custom duties decoded, navigating the global trade landscape with confidence. In this business model, I mean, there's just so many different things that we have to be on top of, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we need to be the experts on this field. And for example, customs and imports and stuff like that, I mean, they can be pretty, I mean, you could actually spend a vast amount of time in getting developing expertise in this topic, meaning that you know every single product, which would be impossible, but you know that you would know all these different tariff codes and whatever, and you would know this and this and this and these things. And if we actually did that, I mean, we have just a limited amount of effort and time available. So if we actually use our time into developing expertise on some skill that really isn't like fundamental for this business or that like the core of the business, then I think, I mean, it wouldn't really make sense, because we are the business owners, so we should really put our attention and effort in the things that can actually grow our business, instead of just like focusing on things that, I mean, might not have that big of an impact in terms of growing the business. So as business owners, we should always put our attention where it matters, which means that we need to be able to grow the business, and we will not be able to get creative, innovative, and really focus on growth if our time is wasted on operations or wasted on stuff like, oh, we need to figure out all these custom and import codes and whatever. So in that sense, it actually makes more sense to use experts in all different fields. And that means that, for example, if I have to do some tax reports that are like some specific things, I mean, I've always used like experts in every different field. It means that I use lawyers, I use like bookkeepers, accountants, I use trademark lawyers, I use like experts in packaging, experts in this import stuff, like getting help from freight forwarders, and so on. But still, I think like we should know the basics, because we are the business owner, and we should be basically, I mean, we are responsible and liable for this. So we should at least know the basics. That doesn't mean that we need to know every single detail, but at least know roughly and have a pretty good understanding of different when it comes to like customs and stuff. So in this presentation, we're going to talk about understanding the Amazon custom duties, global selling, and custom duties. So Amazon global selling is something I definitely recommend using, especially the STAR program, because you just get so good, I mean, such better rates than with their competitors. So what kind of custom duties there is, and compliance and documentation, then mitigating these customs risks. Okay, but yeah, I mean, as Amazon sellers, when sending products to Amazon warehouse from another country, there might be extra charges called custom duties and import taxes. So these charges are imposed by the government of the country where the warehouse is located. So that means when we are importing to US, Canada, Mexico, Europe, and where Asia, I mean, wherever we are importing, I mean, there can be, and there typically are like different regulations in each country. And it doesn't mean that they are drastically different, but it just means that the details can be different. So this is something that we need to take into consideration in terms of planning, price planning. I mean, when we are already launching products, so doing a bit of cost planning, and so on. But actually, here I want to emphasize two things. So, can anyone remind me what are the two things that we must get right when we are launching products on Amazon nowadays? Well, I mean, it's always been important, but it's now especially important. What are the two things? Just let me know. Well, I will tell you the first one. First one is speed. We have to be quick in launching products to the market. And secondly, we cannot launch only one product. We should be able, we have to launch multiple products. So those are the two things we need to get right. And you shouldn't use customs or whatever as an excuse that no, it's going to take me a bit longer to really properly estimate the cost and fees and that they are. No. I mean, you need to be focusing on speed. So really take into this consideration and don't use it as an excuse saying, no, I need to get everything right. I need to get all the calculation right and do this and that. So that's going to take me a longer time. No, I mean, if it comes at the cost of speed, then you see, I mean, it doesn't really impact the way we launch products, because in the beginning, when we do this low risk, low budget method, I mean, the quantities are going to be so low anyway. So the imports, customs wouldn't even be that significant. So, but anyway, we have to take into this consideration. So that we are able to set appropriate prices, calculate the profit margins, and make informed business decisions. So that's really to avoid any kinds of surprises, because lack of awareness regarding custom duties can really lead to unexpected expenses and financial setbacks. So if you're not prepared for these additional charges, they can really eat the profit margin and even result that, hey, we're actually making a loss with the product right now. And another thing is these different like compliance and legal obligations. So custom duties are part of like the legal framework governing international trade. So it's important to comply with customs regulations to avoid penalties, delays, or any even legal issues. And I mean, the point is not to scare anyone or discourage anyone, but obviously when we are moving physical products from one country to another, then that means that, I mean, we are liable for those. We are responsible for the products or for anything that happens, and that's why that's why we really want to focus on like low risk type of products anyway. But yeah, I mean, determining this customs value is the product's purchase price. So the purchase price of the product is really the fundamental factor in determining the customs value. So it doesn't mean the price. The value is not the price that you're going to be selling it for. No, it's the actual price that's paid for those. So the payable for the goods. So that means the value of the items. Then shipping costs. So the cost associated with shipping the goods from the seller's location to the destination country, are also included in the customs value. So this includes transportation charges, freight costs, handling fees, and any other expenses directly related to the shipment. And insurance. So if insurance is obtained to cover the risk of damage or loss during transportation, then the insurance costs are added to the customs value. So this really ensures that the value of the goods and the associated insurance coverage are properly reflected. And one thing to really understand is that when we are talking about like sourcing and doing different kinds of negotiations, logistics, whatever. I mean, optimizing these and things and external traffic or whatever. I mean, typically we are going to be talking about like when we have, I mean, we are going to talking about products that have already been validated. So always keep this in mind that when we are at the test phase, when we are just, I mean, launching test products, I mean, I mean, then forget most of these, like, most of these things, because the point of the low risk, low budget method is to really have super lightweight way of launching products and getting quick feedback and really like validating the product opportunity. So that's really the point, so that we are able to be nimble and agile and quickly gather data and quickly react to the market and really tap on any trends that might be rising. And I mean, I saw a bunch of questions like on Slack and on our forums that, hey, when I'm doing this test launch, should I do this? Should I do that? Should I do create images? Should I do copywriting? Should I focus on how much effort should I put on negotiations? How much should I do this and that and whatnot? But I mean, the point is that this is actually a good example. So one product that we just like did a test launch for, I don't remember like how many units it was. It's like 50. I mean, it was less than 100 units. It was because the point was just to test it out, and we didn't even run ads for it. I mean, we just basically, okay, the inventory arrived to Amazon, the listing is active, and boom, and within a week, all the inventory had already sold without, I mean, before we were actually even able to start any kind of like marketing campaigns. So that kind of like demonstrates the power of these kind of launches, because now we see that, oh, okay, this is a pretty darn good product opportunity, because I mean, it's already it's making sales without us really making putting a lot of effort into it. So that means that, okay, when we launch the next batch and then the next batch and then finally the bigger batch, meaning hundreds of units, 500 units or whatever, then we are already like better prepared, and we have more confidence that when we are investing more funds into it, that it's gonna pay off. So we are not gonna waste any money. Okay, it's not related with this. Let's go to questions afterwards if they are not related with the presentation. But anyway, if you have any questions, just feel free to unmute your mic or just write on the chat. So determining the customs value, then I mean, additional costing incurred after the goods arrive at the destination, such as, I mean, local taxes, domestic transportation. I mean, especially when we are shipping by sea, okay, how much is the truck transportation, the ground transport, and so on. Then distribution cost. I mean, but none of these are typically, I mean, these are typically not included in the customs value, because it's not part of bringing the item to the country, right? So the value means that, okay, what was paid for the goods were in the origin country, meaning that in the original country where it was purchased from. So then commercial invoices, I mean, it provides a detailed breakdown of the transaction between the buyer and the seller. So for us, and as Amazon sellers, and then the supplier, like where we purchased these products from. And then bill of landing, not lading bill of landing, airway bill. So these documentations serve as evidence of the shipment and provide information of the transportation of the goods. But the good thing is that when we use like companies to do this, I mean, they already know this stuff and they can actually advise us on this. So if you're using a freight forwarder, I mean, this is pretty much the only thing they do. So they are like very, very well educated on all these different things. But yeah, then let's talk about different types of custom duties. So import duties. So these are duties often based on percentage of the product's declared value. So let's say country imports like 10% import duty on smartphones, and you import smartphones with declared value of $500, then you would need to pay this $50 in import duties. And I mean, the reason why countries have this, I mean, it's basically just to, well, I guess you could call it as kind of like protectionism, meaning that they just want to protect their own market so that there's no unfair competition. Like typically labor cost is significantly higher in Western countries, so it's not really fair if you get like these cheap labor items like manufactured overseas, and you would be able to just sell them in the Western countries with significantly higher, I mean lower fees when you count in manufacturing and everything. So the point of these duties is just to kind of like make the make it a bit more fair, like excise duties. I mean, these are custom duties imposed on specific goods, typically those considered to be harmful or non-essential. So one thing is that if the country just wants to protect some industries or field, but another thing is that if they want to encourage people not to use certain things like alcohol, tobacco, gasoline, or maybe just some luxury goods, because sure, I mean, luxury goods, it's not really harmful, is it? Other than it takes your money. But it's definitely like non-essential, meaning that in these categories, the country can actually add additional duties when it falls into these different kind of categories. And you can see it already like worldwide, even in third world countries, that typically governments want to lower the use of tobacco products. So they are pretty much doing everything they can to, I mean, get people to smoke less. So let's talk about these duty calculation methods. So ad valorem, so I mean, the customs value is typically determined based on the transaction value, which includes the price paid for the product plus any additional costs such as shipping and insurance, which means that these are like costs associated before the product actually arrives to the target country. So it doesn't mean it will include these like if you are just shipping from one within the country, like let's say from one fulfillment center to another, or from a warehouse to a fulfillment center. So I mean, for example, if a country imposes 10% ad valorem duty on imported furniture, and the customs value of the shipment is $2,000, and the custom duty amount would be like just 10% of that, so $200. Then specific custom duties is just a fixed amount charged per unit weight or volume of the product, I mean, regardless of its value. For example, let's say that country imposes a specific duty of $5 per kilogram on imported coffee. And then let's say that we imported 100 kilos of coffee, then the custom duty amount would be 500 plus. So that's 500 per kilogram, 500 and $5 kilogram. So I mean, it's pretty simple math, right?